Hey guys, good morning, red and black greetings. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you're just arriving, I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms, including YouTube. I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on the bell notification, and leave that awesome like on the video. Today we have Flamengo. Today is the final. Today is the big decision in Argentina. A tough game, a difficult match at their home. Recopa Sudamericana. Let's go for the second title. Let's go after this Recopa Sudamericana championship again. Tonight is Copa night. 2 matches, the second legs. It's a match where Flamengo needs to put in a good performance and get a good result to bring back for the second leg at Maracanã. And God willing, today Filipe Luis will be inspired and will lead the team out there. It's ideal for us to get a win inside Lanús' stadium at 9:30 post-meridian. I'll bring you all the information, but I'm going to start right away by bringing you the lineup. The probable lineup for Flamengo could obviously have some changes. For example, I would start Luis Araujo. I don't believe Filipe will go with Luis Araujo as a starter. I don't think so. I think he'll go with Carrascal. So the probable Flamengo lineup for the upcoming game is Rossi, Varela, Leo Ortiz, Leo Pereira, Alexandro, Eric Pulgar, Lucas Paquetá, Arrascaeta, Carrascal, Cebolinha, and Pedro. There is also a possibility of some changes. I think he might surprise us and play Paquetá as the number 9 instead of Pedro, because he would be very good at tracking back, holding up the ball, and doing what he really wants from a striker, which is pressing and movement. So it's possible, guys, that he might go with Everton Araujo instead of Paquetá there, like I said, right? Eric Pulgar, Paquetá, Arrascaeta. He could go with Eric Pulgar, Everton Araujo, Arrascaeta, Carrascal, or Luis Araujo on the right, Cebolinha on the left and up front. Lucas Paquetá plays as a defensive midfielder when the team defends and shifts roles when the team attacks. He's a false 9, so you also have that possibility with Paquetá. Playing in that position is possible, okay? So what do you think? The question is on the right side, whether he will use Luis Araujo as the winger or if he will use Carrascal, remembering that Carrascal, maybe he prefers Carrascal. I prefer Luis Araujo, I repeat, even with Carrascal's role, for him to use Pedro Carrascal. With Lucas Paquetá as a defensive midfielder, Carrascal should be the choice because Carrascal also fills that midfield spot, right? He moves around there, helps out there too. I also think Luis Araujo has that role. I believe that in Filipe Luis's mind, Luis Araujo is really supposed to stay out there on the wing. And then Paquetá also ends up drifting over there, right? And then Paquetá playing as a false 9. I believe it's the best option, even for Filipe Luis, if Luis Araujo were really the best option. I don't know what you guys think. If you can comment here, I'd really appreciate your comments, bringing all the information here, including important news, right? Regarding the 1987 Brasileirão Flamengo's 1987 title. But to wrap up here, the information about the game happening soon at the Ciudad de Lanús Stadium. Nestor Perez, right? Recopa Sudamericana, first leg broadcast on Disney+. So the probable lineup for Flamengo, we've already gone over it, right? Just bringing you the details about the absences here. Jorginho, Saul, and Alassian, right? Injured. Alassian is actually dealing with muscle pain. Jorginho is indeed injured. Saul has had surgery and Plata is suspended. Probable lineup for Lanús, Lozada, Guidara, Esquerdos Dominguez, and Marcic Medina, Agustin, Cardoso, Salvio, Marcelino, Moreno, Carreira, and the forward Castillo. Coach Mauricio Pellegrino. The absences. Loaiza, right? Injured. The referee Alexis Herrera. The whole team from Venezuela, assistant 1 Jorge Urego, assistant 2 Lubim Torrealba, and the video assistant referee. Only the video assistant referee is from Ecuador, that's Carlos Orbi. He's already officiated some Flamengo games that I remember, okay? And we have some important information here regarding the strike that's happening in Argentina, right? There's a general strike happening in Argentina, and our reporter got in touch with a source connected to Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol. Look, and he was there in Puerto Madero recording.
And the purchase was happening here. That's what's being reported until a little later. But look, everyone's closing deals and rushing. Everyone's closing. Not just this one. There are more VRs over there, which are also closing because of this strike situation. Now, hold on. That's what's being reported here in Argentina. What's going on? I'll bring you the information.
In Argentina, they're saying everything will stop.
About Flamengo's position. Look, this screenshot here is from a conversation of mine. I sent this message here. Perfect. To someone from Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol asking what Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol, his position is on this strike. This is the position. There was no change. The status of the game remains unchanged. Good job. In other words, the game is still confirmed at this moment. That was at 7:35 post-meridium tonight, the 18th, the day before the game. So 7:35 post-meridium.
The status of the game remains unchanged.
And look, finally, I'm going to bring Flamengo's position. I spoke with someone connected to Flamengo's board, someone who is here in Buenos Aires actually to find out, right? What is the club's position on this situation? They said that Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol hasn't informed Flamengo about anything, so Flamengo's delegation is still getting ready for tomorrow's game. There was training today, and there will be tomorrow anyway.
From today already, right?
On game day, there's special preparation, food, sleep, everything getting ready for the game tomorrow. Flamengo's position is that if Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol hasn't said anything so far, the game should happen. I imagine Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol also hasn't said anything to Luis. So, the official position of Clube de Regatas do Flamengo is that there will be a game. Someone connected to the board says the game will happen, since Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol hasn't communicated anything about a possible change so far.
So guys, I understand the concern and all, but even with the strike, there will be a game there, okay? We have some important statements to share with you guys. Filipe Luis expressed his regret about the loss in the Super Cup and said the following: "Losing is an overwhelming pain, and losing a final is hard for everyone. We have a very strong squad. We need to try to complete it as quickly as possible so we can have a team that can face any kind of opponent." So they weren't used to losing anymore, and this defeat was really painful, okay? Look, Bruno Henrique said the following in the interview, also to Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. Filipe also went to Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. "The pressure is constant regardless of the team we face. We lost the Super Cup to a team that is growing, that has a great coach. We understand and respect Corinthians' moment. They won. Now we have to see what we can achieve this year. It's already done, man. It's still the very beginning of the season." Rossi also said the following: "I think there's always responsibility. We have this obligation to win everything. Last year we won everything. This year we lost the Supercopa to Corinthians. Obviously there's some extra pressure, but we're used to it. Flamengo has to compete, and we're in a final like this because we were champions and also Libertadores champions, right? That's right. We have to play a great game here and at Maracanã. Winning this second one, our second Recopa, is really important. I think the value of a Recopa is much greater than a Supercopa because it's the Libertadores champion against the South American champions. So the value of a Recopa is much greater. Look, Samuel Lino also gave an interview to GE. I brought his interview here, this part right here. It's very interesting to have high-level players in this squad like Cebolinha, Paquetá, Carvalho, Carrascal, Bruno Henrique, all of them. It's very important to raise the level, and you're there 100% focused and striving. Because if you slip up, they'll take it. That's it. This so-called competition is really good, right? So we know that Flamengo's squad today understands that if they slip up, they'll lose their spot. Although obviously there are players there who get even more opportunities than they probably should, but that's just the reality, okay? But we have some information here to share with you about the 1987 Copa União, the 1987 Brazilian Championship, which I thought, man, it makes perfect sense. Especially because we know that Flamengo is considered the champion by Federação Internacional de Futebol Association, and also considered the Copa União champion by the Brazilian Football Confederation. In 2011, the Brazilian Football Confederation officially recognized Flamengo's title, and then the courts got involved again, right? They started saying the same nonsense again and all that, that only sport was the champion and so on. So, man, for example, we have this article from Cable News Network. They just changed the name, right? They switched Copa União for Copa João Avelange in the article. But the Attorney General's office argues in the Supreme Court that Flamengo and Sport should share the 1987 Brazilian Championship title. The Rio de Janeiro club claims to be recognized as champion alongside the Pernambuco team. The biggest sports legal dispute in the country has lasted 40 years. So, look at Flamengo. At a certain point, they didn't want to share the title. They wanted to be the sole champion. Since they saw that in Brazil everything is a mess, they're going to have to move on, right? And Paulo Gonei, the Attorney General of the Republic, defended at the Supreme Federal Court this Wednesday that Flamengo could share the 1987 Brazilian Championship title with Esporte. The Attorney General's opinion was sent to Minister Edson Fachin as part of a lawsuit in which Flamengo is seeking recognition of the shared title. After 40 years of legal battle, the country's biggest sports-related court dispute began in 1988 when Esporte filed a lawsuit against the Brazilian Football Confederation and the Union, seeking, based on the recognition of the validity of the original 1987 Brazilian Championship regulations, to be declared the legitimate winner of the tournament. Detail, Esporte took the case to the Common Court of Pernambuco, and we know there's a Federação Internacional de Futebol Association rule that when you take a federation to the Common Court, you have to be relegated down to the 4th division. That's one of the punishments. So, the 10th Federal Court of Pernambuco accepted the club's request and the case ended in 1999. Then later, the Brazilian Football Confederation once again reissued the resolution in 2011, declaring that Flamengo was also champion. There's the loophole, you see, folks, there's the loophole. And then in 2017, the Supreme Court, their panel rejected Flamengo's request and everything else. So now we have a new situation here. Paulo Gonei stated in the opinion sent to the Supreme Court that the court decision recognizing sports title did not establish an exclusive right to the champion title. The fact is that there is nothing in the operative part of the decision that excludes the possibility of recognizing a joint title. To resolve the case, the conclusion of nullity of RPCBF 02-2011 must be set aside, preserving the recognition granted to the sport within the strict limits of the final and unappealable decision, therefore, without prohibiting the shared title of champion of the 1987 tournament. In other words, Flamengo and Sport would be the champions, because there is no nullity in the title that the Brazilian Football Confederation has already granted to Flamengo from 1987. So Sport can be maintained. Just like the Pernambuco court, the Supreme Federal Court kept Sport as the 1987 champion, but Flamengo also has to be recognized. Paulo Gonei submitted this opinion to the Supreme Federal Court, so we might have some changes. That's it, man. It's always this craziness. We know who the real champion is. We even had Zinho talking on the app on R10 Score, the guy from the page all about Clube de Regatas do Flamengo. Check it out.
I lost. In fact, Sport was deservedly the champion because they were relegated in 86.
Look, the guy says this, lost the 1987 Brazilian title to Sport, right? Yeah, lost. In fact, Sport was relegated in the 1986 Brazilian Championship. How is that possible?
They were champions the following year in the division and managed to become Brazilian champions in 1987. Sport was relegated that year. Seriously, damn, he screwed me over, but he almost got me, man. I swear, he almost got me, damn.
What a revelation. Then the guys thought he was going to say that 87 really belonged to Sport, and they even stopped being mad.
That's exactly damn right.
But you almost made him take me.
Who got relegated to the second division?
Division is Church. Church is really funny.
Next year, he'll be first division champion. Of course not. He was relegated to second division in 86. Then in 87, there was that turnaround. The championship was organized by the Club of 13, the Copa União, and there was a division of groups, the yellow module and the green module. In that one,
Zinho showed off. I often disagree with him, but he really showed off this time.
back to the field, the game is tied.
That one where the penalty wasn't over?
Everyone takes the penalty. The president of Esporte says, let's make a deal. Both teams are champions. What a mess.
To take the title away from Flamengo, anything goes. It's a mess. Anything goes.
There's no way they won't understand that. I want you to put me on the team, the Esporte team. You say they're the Brazilian champions.
The Flamengo team.
Guys,
Out of the 11 starters, 9 played in the World Cup. It's
World Cup player in
94 when Alder was a substitute on that team. It's crazy. There are still people who have the nerve to defend that. He's the Serie B champion. Zinho was perfect. He's the Serie B champion of 87. And then they tried to say he's the champion, but that's fine. If there's no way Flamengo will keep making videos, it'll stay on Flamengo's record from Enia. It'll be 10-time champions this year, God willing, and that's it. But it's a shame, man, just like what's happening in Portugal is a shame. We had journalists who were covering Vini Jr.'s story, not even defending him because the right thing is to defend him. But they were covering it, being attacked by Benfica fans. Look at all this, all because they were covering Vini Jr.'s situation. Look how crazy that is. Look at the Benfica fans attacking the journalist who was covering the situation. About the racism against Vini Jr. being treated like a criminal, being confronted by Benfica fans. Man, Benfica, the truth is that Benfica should be severely punished. The player, Benfica, because of the positions they took, Benfica, on social media and everything that's happening, there were people imitating monkeys in the stands. So this needs to be severely punished. UEFA can't turn a blind eye to this. We had that just to wrap things up here. Guys, what's going on with Coutinho, huh? Coutinho saying he's leaving, quitting. Vasco lost the joy of playing soccer there at Vasco and everything else too, man. And in the middle of all this, Vasco's organized fan group, Força Jovem, wrote a message calling Coutinho spoiled, a spoiled player. What kind of situation is this, huh, man? What a situation.
and look at Arrasca coming here to greet the fans up close, and Arrascaeta greeting the Argentine fans.
what a cool image of Arrascaeta greeting the fans here.
At the hotel. That's it.
I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications, hit the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Take the opportunity and get your jersey here on YouTube Shopping. If you haven't gotten yours yet, you help Flamengo by buying official products. When you buy official products, you help Mengao. So here you can find all the official Flamengo merchandise. In fact, I picked out the ones I think are the coolest, including the one I'm wearing and all the other Mengao jerseys, even Brazilian, starting at 89.90. So you can get official Flamengo products here on the Paparazzo channel. Rubro Negro, a big hug. Thanks. I'm out. Oh, the likely score today is 3-1 Mango, 3-1 Mango. Let's go all in. Thanks.